Debt consolidation. You've probably heard the term thrown around, right? It sounds great, promising this simple, clean path out of a really complex debt situation. But the real question is it actually a golden ticket to financial freedom, or are there some hidden traps you need to know about? Today, we're going to break it all down so you can decide if it's really worth it for you.
Okay, so let's get real for a second. Does your month ever feel like you're just juggling? Trying to keep track of a handful of different credit card payments, each one with its own due date, and, let's be honest, a painfully high interest rate? If you're nodding along right now, you are definitely in the right place.
The big promise of debt consolidation is basically to take that chaotic before picture you see there and turn it into that clean, simple after picture. It's really all about trading that constant financial stress for some streamlined simplicity. But how does that actually work?
So let's pull back the curtain and look at the actual mechanics here. It's really a simple strategic move, all about going from many payments down to just one. At its core, debt consolidation is exactly what it sounds like. You're taking out one single new loan, and the only reason for this loan's existence is to completely wipe the slate clean by paying off all your other, more expensive debts all at once. So think of it like you're replacing a whole scattered mess of IOUs with one single manageable bill.
It really boils down to these 3 steps. First, you get a new loan, and this is key, it has to have a lower interest rate. Second, you use that money to pay off every single one of those old, high-interest debts. And boom, third, you're left with just one predictable payment. That's it. So the whole point of this, the entire strategy, it all hinges on swapping your interest rate for a better one. You're trying to escape those really punishing credit card rates, the ones that are like 21, 22, even 24% for something way more manageable. And don't fool yourself, even a couple of percentage points can mean saving hundreds, if not thousands of dollars.
And how do you do this? Well, the most common tools for the job are things like personal loans, they're super popular, or balance transfer credit cards, the ones that give you that 0% intro period. Or if you're a homeowner, a home equity loan could be an option. Each one has its own set of rules and, of course, its own risks.
Okay, so we know how it works. Now for the good part. Let's talk about the payoff. What's the potential upside of wrangling all that debt into just one payment?
Well, there are 4 really big benefits here. The obvious one is just simplifying your life. One payment is way easier than 5. But the real power move? It's saving potentially thousands of dollars in interest, getting a fixed end date for your debt, a light at the end of the tunnel, and over time, this can actually help boost your credit score.
And this visual really nails it. On one side, high-interest debt feels like you're on a treadmill that you can just never get off of. But on the other side, a consolidated loan with a fixed term, that gives you a clear finish line. You know exactly when you'll be debt-free.
Let's put some real numbers on this to see what it looks like. Let's say you have 15 grand in credit card debt, and it's at a 22% interest rate. Ouch. By consolidating that down to a new loan at 12%, that one move could literally put thousands of dollars back in your pocket instead of the bank's. It's a huge deal.
Okay, it's sounding pretty good so far, right? But this is not a one-sided point. It is absolutely critical that you understand the risks and the downsides before you even think about going down this path.
First up, you've got to watch out for fees. Things like origination fees or balance transfer fees can totally eat into your savings. Second, getting that amazing low interest rate, that usually requires a pretty good credit score. And maybe most importantly, you have to remember, this is a math fix, not a behavior fix. It doesn't do anything about the spending habits that got you into debt in the first place.
And this right here, this is the biggest danger. The warning on this slide is so important. See, when you consolidate, all your old credit cards suddenly have a zero balance. It can feel like you just got a raise. But if you haven't fixed the spending issues, you could easily run those balances right back up, and now you're in an even worse spot than when you started.
So, all this brings us right back to our main question. We've got the pros, we've got the cons. So how do you decide if it's actually worth it for your life, for your situation?
Think of this checklist as your personal guide. You've probably got a green light if your new rate is way lower. I'm talking like 5 to 8% lower, at least, and you are 100% committed to not taking on any new debt. But you've got to pump the brakes. It's a major red flag if the fees are too high, or if you're being really honest with yourself and you know your spending isn't quite under control yet.
And hey, if you're seeing more red flags than green lights, do not worry. Consolidation is not the only game in town. There are other proven strategies like the debt snowball method, where you pay off your smallest debts first for quick wins, or the avalanche method, where you tackle the highest interest rates first to save the most money. Even just talking to a nonprofit credit counselor or aggressively paying more than the minimum can be super effective.
No matter what you decide to do, this part is completely non-negotiable. Before you sign a single piece of paper, you have to do the math. Use an online calculator, compare the total cost of what you're paying now versus the total cost of the new loan, and don't forget to include all the fees. Seriously, the numbers do not lie.
Okay, so let's say you've weighed the pros and cons, you've run the numbers, and you're thinking, yeah, this might be the right move for me. What's next? Let's build a clear action plan. Here are your immediate next steps. First, go find all your current debt statements so you can see exactly what you owe and what you're paying in interest. Second, check your credit score. This is going to be the biggest factor in what kind of rates you get offered. And third, start shopping around and comparing the total costs. Don't just check one place. Look at credit unions, online lenders, your own bank. Find the absolute best deal for you. So, the most important thing to take away from all this is that debt consolidation can be an incredibly powerful tool. It can save you a ton of money and make your life so much simpler. But it's just that, a tool. It requires discipline. It organizes your debt. It doesn't magically make it disappear. The real work is in your budget and your habits.
And that leaves us with the final question you really need to ask yourself. Have you actually done the math to make sure it saves you money? And maybe more importantly, are you truly ready to commit to the financial habits that will make this whole thing a success? The answer to that? Well, that's going to tell you everything you need to know.